Hey everyone, it's Charlene. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to learn how to make stencils with our Cricut and make a beautiful card. Let's get started. First things first is you're going to need some blank stencil sheets. These are 10 millimeters thick. You can see the greater thickness that they are, the more opaque they are. These work really well for creating stencils in your Cricut. These are 12 by 12 sheets that I picked up from Amazon. We're going to take out the sheet and get our green standard grip mat and go ahead and apply the stencil mylar to the mat. Make sure you grab your brayer and really ensure that it's adhered to your mat because you don't want this moving while it's in your Cricut. I use the deep point blade with my Cricut when I am cutting these sheets. So I'm going to go into new project. I am going to upload the SVG file that I am going to have over at my blog, www.dreamcraftcreate.com, and you guys will have access to that if you head over to my blog. So I uploaded that into Design Space. I'm going to go ahead and click Make, and then I'm going to go back over and get it started in my Cricut. Now I did skip the actual cutting part because it was quite long. So we're going to pull out our sheet, take it off of the standard grip mat, and as you can see, I was able to get most of the hearts out on each of those stencils. This is a layering stencil, and you'll see what I mean as we continue on in the video. So if you have any spots that get stuck, just kind of carefully peel, or you can kind of fold the mylar in order to get it off of, to break it out from the cut parts. This one was a little tricky, so I did bend it back and forth, you can see there, in order to try and get it off. If you have any parts that are stuck on the inside, I recommend that you take a weeding tool, or you can take your knife, your craft knife, and just kind of pop those out. Once you have all of those popped out, you can see now what I mean by this being a layering stencil. Each of those hearts, you're going to see there is a smaller heart inside for a layer of 3, so that you can do all kinds of stuff with this kind of stencil. All right, now I'm going back into Design Space, and I'm going to pull up my mini slimline template that I have created. It is also available to you guys as a project link over at my blog. This is made with all free images in Cricut, so even if you don't have Cricut access, you can access this template for the mini slimline card. So went in here, I'm using 110 pound Nina Solar White cardstock. This is great cardstock. You can find it on Amazon. I will include information on all the supplies I used in this video over at my blog as well. So I pull out my little Cricut tool holder here so I can get my scoring wheel. Oh, I have both a single and a double scoring wheel, but I like to use this single scoring wheel, even though it recommends using the double scoring. I find that for my machine, it just works better, and I'm able to fold the paper better once it's done. So we're going to score, and then we're going to switch out our blade. I use my deep point blade for all of my cardstock. I don't cut with the fine point blade for cardstock anymore. The deep point blade works really, really well, and I never have any issues. I use my fine point blade only for vinyl. So we're going to go ahead and cut out, this is going to cut out the card base as well as the top layer where we're going to be putting all of our fun stuff. So we'll take that out. Every time I remove something from my sheet, I always flip it over and peel the the mat away from the paper or from the stencil or from whatever it is. That keeps your paper from bending, creasing, folding, anything like that. Now you can see where that score mark was. I'm going to use a bone folder. These are super helpful when it comes to going over and folding your cards. Just go down the middle and then go down the top and bottom. If you do not have a bone folder, you can use one of the scraping tools that Cricut provides with most of their starter packs of tools, or even a credit card. You can see I just showed there. Okay, now we're going to go back in and we're going to use Hero Hues from Hero Art's premium cardstock. This is in black. This is the truest black I have found at any kind of cardstock. It's fantastic. So this is a little bit lighter weight. I believe this is an 80-pound. So I'm going to go in, bray that down with my brayer, very important. And then I'm going to go in and change my settings to medium cardstock as opposed to heavy cardstock. So I'll run this through, and this is going to cut out our back layer of our background. This is going to make it so that we have a really nice black frame around our main focal point. So I recommend doing this in any time you make a card, is to add some dimension, and you can do that by putting some type of complementary or contrasting color as your back frame. These are cut so that there is a 1/8 of an inch, but you could do 1/4 inch. Now we're going to start on our background. You're going to want to adhere your cardstock to your mat or whatever your work surface is using some low-tack tape. And then I'm actually going to use only 2 of those layering stencils. I am using the middle-sized one and the smallest one. So first I'm going in here with candied apple, and then I'm following that up with carved pumpkin, then some squeezed lemonade, followed by some stormy sky and some seedless preserves. I like to kind of blend these into each other. You'll notice that green is missing, and that's largely because the blue and the yellow, when they mix together, will kind of create a green aqua kind of tone in between. So I generally skip green when I am making a rainbow colored type of project. So then we're going to take off that top stencil. I'm going to make sure those inks are good and dry using my heat tool. And then I'm going to go ahead and put on the top layer stencil, which is the smallest of the 3. And I'm going to go in with some Gina K Glitz glitter glue with a small spatula that is from Ranger. And I'm going to just smooth that glitter glue over the top. It's really simple to do. And then I'm going to go in and peel off so we can have a little bit of a reveal here. This is always my favorite part. So I'll take that top layer off. And oh, I just love those rainbow colors. It is always so fun. Now, in between those 2 layers, just make sure you clean off your tape really well before you go back in with the glitter glue, because you don't want to smear color into your glitter glue. So isn't that pretty? When it dries, those will be really glittery hearts in the center there, and they will be hard to the touch. All right, so now I'm going to go in because I want to find something to use as my sentiment. So I went into images and I just searched up happy birthday, scrolling through until I find something that I like. And I'm going to pick that happy birthday there with the presents. That looks pretty fun to me. I'll resize that. And I want to make this into a digital stamp. If you have never done that with your Cricut, I have another video on how to do that, which I will link to here up in the top right. So I'm going in, I'm creating an offset in order to make this into a digital stamp image. Once I find the offset that I like, I'm going to go ahead and go in and apply that. Then I'm going to go into contour so I can remove all of those center cutout pieces. I will turn that layer white, and then I'll take the top sentiment layer and that background layer and flatten those so that I can use them as a print and cut. I'm going to go ahead and hide all my other items. You can see if you go in that top left hand corner and double click, you can get your grid lines to make sure that there are no interior pieces of your image that are going to get cut out. So off camera, I went ahead and printed, and then I cut that out using the Cricut, and so there we have it. It's super cute. I did print this onto Crafter Companion cardstock, which is really good for blending Copic markers in my opinion. I use that most of the time when I'm working with Copics. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that happy birthday, so I went ahead and I pulled a stamp and die out of my stash that I had as well. So I'm going to double stamp that with the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, which is really good for using with Copics. I'll go ahead and die cut that off camera. And then I always pop up my die cuts with some type of dimension, and I oftentimes will cut out using EVA foam. I'm going to go ahead and link up in the top right to a video of card making tips and tricks, which I discussed that more there. So I'm going to go in now with my Copic markers. I'm going to do kind of a rainbow gradation here from red at the bottom going up. So I'm just working on blending those two colors in the red and the orange. I skipped the yellow in that section of the present and just brought it in on the ribbon. It's kind of hard when you're working with that small of a space to use multiple colors. On the balloons, I decided to do one green, one blue, and one purple. So I got out a light and a dark green. I will include in my blog post all of the different color Copics that I used here. So if you want to recreate this look, you can go ahead and do that. I start with my light color, and then I go back in with my dark, and I kind of go back and forth a few times. Now, if you wanted to, on these balloons, you could use 3 colors, a light, a medium, and a dark, and that probably would have resulted in some better shading and blending here, but I was kind of in a hurry because my children were coming in and talking to me a lot while I was trying to get these cards done. So I went back with my colorless blender. I added a little bit of accents on the balloons and cleaned up a couple of dots that I had that went outside the lines. Now I'm going to come in and do a similar look on this happy birthday sentiment that we created, and I'm using red at the top, and I'm coming in and going down to purple at the bottom. So I've got red and orange at the top, and then green, blue, and purple at the bottom, and kind of blending them in together to create that rainbow gradation again. Off camera later, I do go back and add Wink of Stella to various spots on each of those. So now I'm trying to decide which one I like best. I don't know. I like them both. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments which one you preferred. I did ultimately actually end up going back and making another background because I liked both of them and just could not decide. So I went back in to my sentiment so I could create a black matting for the sentiment because I thought that would really add another layer to the dimension of the card. So I wasn't sure if I wanted a 0.05 or a 0.1 offset here, so I decided to look at both, and ultimately I did go with the 0.05 offset, so I deleted the 0.1. Now I'm going to go back in and cut that out of that same Hero Arts black cardstock. I went ahead and cut that out off camera. And now you can see underneath that sentiment, it really adds a lot of dimension. It looks really pretty. Now I'm going to go ahead and put everything together here. I got my panel. And while normally I do use craft EVA foam to prop everything up on that sentiment, I'm actually going to use dots, foam dots. But I have 2 different kinds of glue here. I use Gina K Connect glue, and then I use Art Glitter glue. Those are my go-to glues Our glitter glue has a fine metal tip, which is really nice for getting into small spaces. So I use that if I am layering sentiments. The Gina K glue is a little wetter consistency, so it's really easy to wiggle things around, and it also smooths out wonderfully underneath layers of paper. So I use them for different purposes. Don't be afraid to have different items for different things that you're doing. So there you'll see that craft EVA foam. I'm going to adhere the stamp layer to that EVA foam. And like I said, later I did end up going back and creating a second base and card because I just could not decide. I like them both. So if you want to see that, please do stick around to the end because I'll have some photos here at the end. You can also head over to my Instagram at DreamCraftCreate and see close-up photos and follow me for more tips, tricks, and tutorials in the future. Speaking of, if you are enjoying this video and this tutorial, please do go ahead and go down and click that like button and subscribe to my channel. I have lots of tip and trick videos, and I'm going to be making a lot more. I also do a lot of tutorials, and I have information over on my blog to different free project links and SVGs that I do create. So we're going to go ahead and put that black layer down. It looks like here I decided that I needed to make sure that the crease of the card was really braid down with my bone folder because it was making things difficult for me when I was trying to place that black layer. So I'm going to go back in, put that black layer down, get it just how I want it. And then I'm going to adhere the background layer with the hearts. I am going to prop that up with EVA foam. You can use a paper trimmer to cut down the EVA foam. I have one that has the, it's kind of one of those ones that had the sliding knife part, so it doesn't cut all the way through, but you can go ahead and essentially score with the knife blade, and then you can just tear off the extra EVA foam. I do save all of those bits because I oftentimes will use those for sentiment strips. So using the Gina K glue again, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that layer, the heart layer, to the EVA foam. Normally I would turn this upside down and make sure that foam was adhered really well, but I was a little worried that my glitter glue was not completely dry and I did not want to ruin it, so I kind of just tapped around and around those hearts so that I didn't mess up the glitter areas. And then I'm going to do the same when I adhere that layer to the black matting. This extra layer here of foam, you can also do this with foam squares, or you can do the little tiny foam dots. You could also cut multiple layers of cardstock. The reason I really like the EVA foam is that I know it gives an all over layer there, so that way it helps your project in the mail. You can ensure that it doesn't get smashed, and it's also a lot less time consuming. So we're going to go in. I am going to use those dots here, and the reason is because of the glitter glue. It's not a flat background, so I need to kind of place those foam squares so that they will go over and around the glitter glue so it doesn't mess with things. So when you're removing those little sticker tags there, I always use my little weeding tool, but a craft knife is also a great item to use in order to get those off of there. Now this is a neat trick that I learned from Kathy Zielski. You go in with your glue and just put a couple of dots on top of your foam. That foam is super sticky, and once you put it down, it's not moving. But if you add a couple of dots of glue, it gives you just a few seconds of wiggle room. So if you need to straighten out your sentiment or whatever it is that you're adhering, it's really helpful. I also always use reverse tweezers in order to add any kind of sentiments or small pieces to my cards. It gives you a little bit more control. So get it on there and then get it straightened how I like it. Some people like to use a T ruler. I just eyeball things. That's just how I do it. But definitely you can get a T ruler and use that. And so there we have it, guys. There is the finished card. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at all of that glitter, and I just love it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you'll try making stencils, and I hope you will make one of these cards. If you do, make sure to go ahead and go over to my blog and post it in the comments. I'd love to see it.